3, 2, 1, go!
Hey folks, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Today we are looking at ORESUKI, or the full title, by the way, apologize in advance for this because I'm probably going to butcher it. ORESUKI nano wa Omae dake kayo, which, stands for ORESUKI, are you the only one who loves me? Now, specifically though, we're not talking about the whole series. I mean, I didn't actually do a review for ORESUKI. This came out back in, I believe, what was it? Let me look up the actual time from Mal. It was 2019. During this time, I stopped doing reviews for a while because I was working, at basically full capacity. I couldn't do reviews, so that was like the time where I stopped doing reviews for a long time. But I'll say this right now. ORESUKI was one show I really liked. I gave it an 8 out of 10, solely for one reason. I hated the way it ended. It ended on this very big cliffhanger, and as goofy and silly as it was, and how curious I was with how things were happening, I couldn't give the show a greater score because of that ending. That ending was... Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. If you guys don't notice, this is the God of High School shirt. I know people are going to ask about it because several people, which is really cool. It shows all three main characters. I got this from a T Republic. I love T Republic, by the way. It's like one of my favorite sites for like t-shirts, anime shirts especially. You find, if you look up God of High School, you'll find it on T Republic. But I know someone's going to ask me, so I'm going to eliminate that before I keep going on, because I feel like that's all someone's going to focus on, is just that. They'll be like, look, this shirt's like, does that look... Who is that on the shirt? There you go. Anyways, so, past all that. So, ORESUKI, when I saw it, I really digged it. Again, the ending was not that great. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. Now, then I heard about this supposed OVA episode that would end the anime on a better note. And I was very, very, very happy about that. It happened. I want to say the announcement was back in like early spring around that, or maybe even before that. But I heard about the announcement. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not going to I'll tell you this right now. I'm not going to increase the score of the anime only because of this. This is an OVA episode. It's its own separate entity. It's actually an hour and 10-minute long episode. That's what I'm going to be reviewing today. I believe the actual title, I'm going to look up on Mal. I believe like the full thing is game set. I believe is game set. Yeah, no game set. Excuse me. And that's like how the whole series is supposed to end. The actual anime series. From what I know, the manga series has ended, and the Light Novel series continues going. So it's still being written right now. But I think it's like 14 volumes long or something like that. But I don't want to give ORESUKI a better score because you shouldn't have to watch an OVA for a series to get better. And even though this is part of the series, I get that. It's still like a separate entity in my mind because it's almost the equivalent of like 4 episodes if you think about it. An hour and a half almost. It's like an hour 10 minutes, but if you take out like all the openings and closings and everything, that's like about like almost 4 episodes worth of a thing. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love when shows do this. I wish more shows would do this to kind of give everything an actual feeling of a closure, especially the shows that don't have closure. But I can't change the score of ORESUKI just because of this OVA, and I won't do it. But I'll tell you this right now. And I'll say this just bottom line. This is not I'm not gonna give my score obviously to the very end, but I'll say this right now. It is amazing. It is how I wanted the series to end in many ways. It filled me with so many emotions. I didn't know if I wanted to cry, laugh, get pissed off. I've never felt that before in an anime episode where I had like I ran the gambit in my mind of every emotion I can go through. And it was hitting me that hard because I'll explain why. So I won't say too much about the whole show. I don't want to spoil it for people who might haven't seen it yet. But I'll say this right now: there are spoilers for ORESUKI, the main series. So if you haven't seen that yet, I would highly do so. Before watching the rest of this review, then come back to this review after you see the OVA too. But yeah. So it's kind of obvious because it is OVA that's concluding the series that you should watch the series first. It'd be kind of weird to watch the OVA first, but I guarantee that someone probably would do it because someone does things like that. I know people out there. There's someone that watches OVA and goes, "What? This looks familiar," and that doesn't watch the whole show though. Because trust me, there's someone out there. I know there's someone out there. And if you're that person, you can comment in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Anyways, though, skipping ahead. So, picking up right after the conclusion of ORESUKI, we focus on our main character Joro with Hose and all the other girls, and the series had ended on a note where there was a challenge by Hose, who is this guy who came in, who apparently was in love with the main girl, Pansy. And the thing was that, she was like fearing everything about him. She hated everything about him, and legit is just kind of scared about him in total. I think there's something about his personality that kind of just makes her cringe. That's probably the best way I could put it. So the whole thing though was supposed to have a challenge that would have Joro, excuse me, versus Hose. Whoever wins that would get Pansy's heart for the the remainder of the thing, and then the other one would have to go away from her forever. Our OVA starts off with that on that note, where we learn more about the challenge, which is going to be every single girl is going to give one of the characters a beret, and what that beret will symbolize is a point. When every single point is added up to it, and at the end of the game, the baseball game with his friend son happens, it will be who wins, our girl's heart. It sounds confusing, and I think the show kind of realizes there's a little weird mixture of things here and there, because it actually goes over the rules not once but twice, and it makes me crack up because it does it a quicker way the second time, which is more like point on with everything, but it still goes into every little rule just in case you guys are like, what the hell is going on? So it does a better job. It's like there's a whole gambit of rules that they have to abide by. Like the girl can only give one beret per person, etc. Stuff like that. But what this show does is very interesting, where this OVA acts almost as a side story for our other main character, son, who is Joro's best friend, and goes back to his backstory of like why he even was part of the baseball team, why he got the personality of Sunshine, all this stuff that we get to learn, and like how he met Joro, how they became best friends, like what made him kind of want to be his rival, when it made him kind of betray him for that moment. If you guys remember from the original series, it's kind of cool how they did that. I actually really appreciated it because it's done so differently than most of the OVAs, because this almost feels like a movie in many ways, and I kind of dig that, where instead of being just a flat out one episode extra little event, that something, it actually feels like a conclusion for a series. And like I said earlier on, I really wish more shows would learn from this, because it's just a amazing idea. It really is. But anyways, skipping ahead with that. So the whole episode though is kind of a comedy bit, because Joro's now trying to avoid all these girls, because he's trying to figure out a plan. He needs a plan of action to win this challenge when there's so many rules kind of set against him. Like, he's already behind on how many berets he's gotten from the girls, because they want obviously the main girls that like him don't want him to get Pansy's heart, and it's kind of interesting how they go and battle that out and stuff like that. But they made it clear that they want him themselves, and they don't want her to be a challenge, because they know that Joro really likes her more than anything else, and it's kind of obvious. But there's a whole thing with that. So he's trying to avoid them. He's also trying to make this grand master plan work to get these berets. And I'll tell you, it cultivates in a very interesting episode of him doing various things that almost seem like a Death Note type story, where he's making moves like 20 steps ahead of Hose, and meanwhile Hose also is like the L of the show, where he's also going backwards and trying to make these plans of action that he's had thought of and all that stuff. It's very interesting how they do this stuff, and I'll tell you right now, the way it all works out is amazing. I love their battle. I love how everything kind of fits perfectly, and when one thinks they're a little bit above the other one, it's like the other one goes, wait 1 second, I'm actually over here because I thought you were going to do this and I planned to do this, so now I'm ahead of you. It's nice. I really digged it. Now the ending. This is what I want to talk about. Like I said, no spoilers, but Joro chooses a very interesting way of confessing his love to the girls and kind of rejecting other ones by not doing it per se. I won't say any more than that, because I want to keep it like, wait, what do you mean? If you haven't seen it already, if you've seen it, I would love to hear from the comments below what your thoughts were, because I'll tell you right now, I was filled with anger. I was cracking up laughing. I was happy for the girls he chose. I was happy for their reactions to how he chose them. I loved it. I loved how he ended up supporting his best friend at the end. It was kind of like, that's the main thing of it. He supported his best friend. And what I love about it doesn't deviate from how Joro is presented in the whole show. Joro's always been a very strange character. I think one of the strangest in any rom-com I've ever seen, because he's not the nice guy per se. He's a guy who is doing things kindly, yes, for people, but he's doing it in very roundabout ways, because he does it in his own way. And I think that's what makes him a nice guy, because instead of being an asshole about everything he does, he's doing things with kindness in his heart, even though he doesn't want to admit it. But he's not trying to be a nice guy. He's trying to be this kind of almost scumbag-like character, and he kind of fails at that. He fulfills the role of being a nicer guy than an asshole, and it's amazing, because I'm like wondering, was that how they were trying to write him, or is that just like, he seems almost too perfect in that sense, because he's this guy who's helping everyone, but he also hates doing certain things for people. And I'm like, I just, how does that work out so well that the show does it so magnificently, where you're like, Wow, I love Joro's character. I really do. I love all the characters in the show, and they get all the chances to air at this last episode, which is really awesome. Every character you can think of has kind of a screen point in this episode, has some screen time in general. And they all have significance, like not just like throwing in like, oh, let's just throw this person because we want to kind of show homage to them from, the first season or whatever. No, they throw them in with some thought process behind it. Now, aside from animation is spectacular. It's about the same as ORESUKI, which is great. I love the animation. I love character designs. I love that. The main character looks kind of generic. I've always had an issue with that, but it's not a big thing because most main characters in anime, especially rom-coms, look kind of generic. But all the characters look pretty good. I have no issue with that. The animation is good. We even got a arrival of Bench-kun. If you guys don't know who Bench-kun is, by the way, it was a character that showed up in the first season. And this is something that only people that watch the show actually understand. He showed up in the show as, Joro's biggest nightmare, because every time he was confessed to by a girl, or they confessed to another girl, and what actually really happened, it would be this bench that would just magically appear out of nowhere. It would just be like right there. And he would sit down and be like this, no, how can you be here? I thought you were in the park and now you're here. It was a separate character, but Bench-kun will always be in the hearts of all of us that love Bench-kun, because we understand. It's almost like a kind of a play at all the romance stories that always have the girl sitting down next to the guy on a bench somewhere. And I think it's done so well. It's just awesome. But I will say though that ORESUKI hit all the right notes for me. More so the OVA. It had a good ending, one that filled me with so many emotions that I love the ending. I love it. I hate it at the same time. It's like, how do I put this? I love to hate it because it's such a nice ending, and it's an ending that I'm okay with, because usually in romance, especially rom-coms, I always want the main character to end up with the girl. Does that happen in this? Yes and no. That's my only big spoiler to you. Yes and no. It doesn't go the way you think, and I think they played off just in case they want to do a second season, because like I said before, the manga's done, but the light novels are continuing. So I believe ORESUKI originally was a light novel series, so it was adapted from that, which presumes then that it's going to keep going probably further than where the anime OVA ended, or it might change completely. Who knows? But I really hope this comes out of America eventually, the light novels, by the way, because I would love to read them. I would think that'd be really enjoyable. But besides all that, it's the ending that settles this for me. That's why if I had to review ORESUKI, the no game basically OVA, between an A through F, I'm gonna give it an A+. Yes, I think it was perfect. I know that's hard for me to understand. Like when you hear someone say I love and hate something, you almost think, how could that be perfect? It's perfect in the way it's executed, that I'm okay with everything. And it's very rare. Like if this show doesn't have a second season, I'd be okay with that. If characters don't appear ever again in this, I'd be okay with that. How it ends is so good that I'm okay with everything about it. It fixes the ending of the first season, or I would say first season, but you know what I mean, the original 12 episodes. It fixes that ending because it gives it actual finishing ending, which is almost like what Real Life did. Because if you guys remember, Real Life had was it 12 episodes, and then it had the last 4 as an OVA type thing. It fixes it. What they did with that was give it an actual ending, which was nice. And many people consider it like a second season, but I always consider it like an OVA because it's its own separate thing. But it did exactly what that did, and it ended on a perfect note that just makes me happy. That's why it's perfect. I have no issues with it. I hate how he doesn't get with certain people. I hate how he kind of responded to people, but equally I understand it. I love how he did it because it fits his character. I know it sounds confusing, but this is where I put in the comments for the people who have seen it before. You guys gotta let me know, what did you think about it? Because am I crazy? Maybe it's just me. Maybe this whole time it's just been me that I'm the crazy one here, and it's a horrible thing. Because I see a Mal. I think. Well, let me check on Mal real fast. It had like a 7.76 of a score, which rom-coms always tend to do kind of meh on Mal. Sometimes they do very good. Sometimes they do really bottom level. And that's, I think, preference of people's things of romance comedy. Because romance comedy, one of the big elements to it, besides the romance, is the comedy, and sometimes that just does not hit with people. ORESUKI was one of those shows that I was constantly laughing. I really enjoyed it. I constantly loved the romance elements. That's why I always gave it a higher review. Like, had it had a good ending, or the ending that we got from the OVA, I would have gave it a 10 out of 10. I would have said it was probably one of my favorite rom-coms to come out, because honestly, that's how I felt about it. I didn't give it that because the ending was kind of just like, it leaves you up in this cliffhanger that you're like, wait, what? And it was not enough to take away my love for the show, because I still loved it, but it was enough to make me say, well, it's not perfect because of that. The OVA though is perfect. I think it did what I was praying the show would do originally. So if you haven't checked it out, if you've seen ORESUKI and you haven't checked the OVA, I would highly, highly recommend to check out the OVA. You will be so grateful for it because it's good. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. You know, it's actually on there, which surprises me because I was almost thinking we wouldn't even get I wasn't thinking we weren't even going to get anywhere. I was thinking it would be like somewhere on some kind of torrent site or something like that. It came out on Crunchyroll, I want to say about a few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. So I know I'm a little late with this, but I was only able to get to it now. I wish I would have watched it earlier. So I really loved it. Anyways, guys and girls, let me know, like I said, in the comments below, what did you think of ORESUKI? No game. Let me know in the comments below. I said that twice. Whatever. You guys don't get me. As always, guys and girls, if you like my reviews, please think about supporting my channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Go to my Patreon, which I really don't need Patreon. I have it up just to kind of help other supporters. So it kind of goes and fluctuates between other people that I know that do cosplays and do reviews and stuff like that. But it helps me help them because I feel like they are deserving of that. I have a job. I have 2 jobs technically, so I don't desperately need it. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Until I pass crossing in the next review, I love you guys all. God bless all of you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.